The village of Hearthwyn was once a thriving place, its life sustained by the magical Emberstone, a relic that pulsed with the energy of the first flame. Over time, the Emberstone began to fade, and with it, the village's crops withered. Rivers dried and hope dwindled. Despite countless attempts to restore the stone, all efforts failed. Desperation lingered like a heavy fog. Aylin, the blacksmith's daughter, stood before the Emberstone in the village square. Its once bright light flickered weakly, casting faint shadows on her determined face. "What if I take the Emberstone to the Pyrestar?" she proposed to the village council. The Pyrestar volcano, a distant and treacherous peak, was said to hold the first flame, the source of the Emberstone's power. Legend spoke of those who ventured there, but none had returned. The council erupted. "It's madness," cried an elder. "No mortal can survive the Pyrestar." But Aylin held her ground. "If we don't try, we'll die anyway. Hearthwyn deserves a chance." Her resolve swayed them, and by dawn, Aylin was ready. Armed with her father's forge hammer and the Emberstone, encased in protective glass, she set out. The journey was grueling. The once lush forests near Hearthwyn were barren, their trees blackened. The ground grew hotter, and the air thickened with ash. By the second night, Aylin reached the edge of the ashen wastes, where the Pyrestar loomed in the distance, its summit glowing faintly like a dying ember. As she crossed the wastes, the ground trembled. A deep roar echoed, and from the shadows emerged a massive flame warden, its molten body glowing, its eyes burning like coals. "Turn back," it rumbled, its voice crackling like fire. "The flame is not for mortals to claim." Aylin gripped her hammer, heart pounding. "I don't seek to claim it," she said. "I seek to restore it. My village is dying." The flame warden studied her. "Prove your worth, or be consumed." The creature charged, its blades slicing the air. Aylin dodged, her hammer striking sparks against its molten hide. The battle raged, each clash of fire and steel echoing across the wastes. In desperation, Aylin held the Emberstone high. "If this flame dies, so does your purpose." The guardian froze, its molten body flickering. Slowly, it lowered its blade and knelt. "You speak the truth," it said. "Carry the Emberstone to the summit. May your courage reignite what has been lost." With the Flame Warden's blessing, Aylin pressed on. The path to the Pyrestar's summit lay open, its glow brighter with each step. But she knew the final test awaited her. Aylin climbed higher, her breath shallow as the air grew thinner and hotter. The Emberstone, nestled safely in her pouch, pulsed faintly, its light growing stronger with every step. The Pyrestar's summit loomed ahead, glowing like a beacon against the ashen sky. When she reached the peak, Aylin stood before a massive altar carved from blackened stone. At its center burned the first flame, a golden inferno that radiated both warmth and immense power. The air shimmered with its energy, and the Emberstone responded, glowing brighter in her hands. She stepped toward the altar, but the ground trembled violently. A deafening roar erupted, and a towering figure emerged from the flame, a Pyrelord, its form a swirling mass of fire and molten rock. Its eyes burned with ancient wisdom and fury. "You dare approach the first flame?" the Pyrelord bellowed. "It is not meant for mortals." Aylin steadied herself, holding the Emberstone aloft. "I seek only to restore my village. Without the Emberstone, Hearthwyn will die." The Pyrelord's fiery gaze bore into her. "Many have come before you, driven by greed and pride. What makes you worthy?" Aylin hesitated, then spoke with quiet conviction. "Because I have nothing left to lose but my people's hope. I ask not for power, only a chance to save them." The Pyrelord's flames flickered, its towering form seeming to waver. "Prove your intent," it said, lowering its molten sword. Aylin approached the altar, the Emberstone glowing fiercely in her hands. She hesitated, feeling the heat of the first flame threatening to overwhelm her. With a deep breath, she thrust the Emberstone into the heart of the fire. A surge of light and heat erupted, blinding her. The first flame engulfed the Emberstone, and for a moment all was silent. Then the fire burst outward, illuminating the entire peak. The Emberstone re-emerged, its light restored to a radiant golden glow. The Pyrelord stepped back, its voice softer now. "You have restored balance. The first flame burns brighter because of your selflessness." Aylin cradled the renewed Emberstone, her heart swelling with relief and pride. As she descended the mountain, the Pyrestar's glow seemed to follow her, lighting the path back to Hearthwyn. When she returned to the village, the Emberstone was placed back in its altar, its light filling the square. Crops began to grow, rivers flowed anew, and the gray sky lifted. Hearthwyn was alive once more. Aylin stood before her people, her father's hammer still at her side. She wasn't a hero, she thought, but she was proof that even in the darkest times, a single spark of hope could reignite a future.